55?
55, yeah.
Ooh, nice, even, nice. You get the double number. This is, so it's the, okay, it's the fifth. I don't know why I thought that was interesting, that it's the fifth double number. Of course it's the fifth double number. It's 55. Hello. Hello, and welcome to episode 55 of the Foam News Collective podcast. I'm KT. I'm really tired, and I'm here with Vile, who's also really tired.
Yes.
And we are really excited to have our special guest this week, Al of FoamFest and much other UK Nerf organizing. BigAl, how are you doing today? This night
good.
For you.
Night, yes. I'm also very tired, but no, it's good. Looking forward to this.
Right. Really quickly, before we dig into the fun stuff, just a quick update. Thank you to everybody since last episode who has sent us questions for Martin, the head boss at Worker. Found out what his name was after we asked for questions. Thanks to Piggy for that. A lot of you asked when they'll be making an AEB. A lot of you also asked when they'll be making a lever action. And there were also some interesting and unique questions that came in as well. So we'll be excited to bring you some answers that will most likely be coming in episode 57. Just to clarify, that's not going to be a podcast episode. It's going to be part of the main show. Although we're kind of waiting to see what we get sent back. He's planning on recording video answers, and then we will edit that into a segment of some kind. So something special, something kind of rare to look forward to. But for now, let's get into this stuff. Al, you and your wife Mel have been running FoamFest and making content as Monkeytron Collective, and I want to get into the distinctions between, because a lot of people, it's like, I've been watching Monkeytron Collective stuff, and I'm like familiar with FoamFest, but I haven't been, because I haven't been to the UK ever somehow. But like, I love to dig into some of the distinctions between all of those things. But before we even get there, tell us your backstory. Tell us how you got started in foam flinging. How long have you been doing this?
So yeah, I've been doing this for quite a while, since back in the N-Strike days. So yeah, probably 2008 got started, and like many Nerfers of my vintage, I got into it through the kids being into Nerf, and yeah, just I've been an adult toy collector and kind of into cosplay and kind of prop making and stuff, and then discovered the Nerf hobby through kids buying blasters and stuff. And I was actually we were having big battles in the house, and I was researching a blaster to buy for myself so I could wreck all the kids.
Yes,
and I was,
many such cases.
I was on the early days of YouTube, googling reviews, and came across the hobby through that, and kind of Drax early videos of, and it just kind of went down that rabbit hole.
What blaster did you wind up to wreck all the kids?
A long shot.
Right.
Yep.
Right. For the
time
period, makes
that was
a lot of sense.
My first big Nerf love was the long shot. I had one that I did the front gun integration and knocked out the AR and put an extra spring in there. I never had a chronograph back in those days. It probably hit about 100 FPS, but yeah, that was wild back then.
You just dove straight in. I did the same thing. It's that whole like Dark Ages thing, like in Lego, you come out of it and it's like, oh, let's go, we're in it now. How old are your kids now?
They're older now, so they're all one's finished university, one's at university, and one's just going off to university. So.
Are any of them still involved in the hobby at all? Do they do like HVZs at school or anything like that?
No.
Is that part of the UK culture at all?
No, not particularly. No.
Yeah.
It's a fairly niche hobby over here. There's a couple of universities that they mainly play Assassins and stuff, and then we have one big kind of campus HVZ game here in the UK, which is run by one of the universities, where everyone kind of gathers once a year for that event. That's the only kind of invitational HVZ game that we have.
I mean, like, the differences between the UK and the US Nerf scenes are really interesting. I mean, you mentioned that some of the schools have like Assassins games and stuff going. I've been hearing some like legal things about that happening in the U.S. again. It seems like there's sort of a cycle where every few years a few kids like go too far for it for their local municipality, and it like turns into a thing. Does it go like that there too, or are people a little more reasonable?
Well,
with it there?
we have obviously we're much more conservative around the use of replica firearms in public
Right.
here in the UK. We don't have that gun culture here.
Yeah.
It's not ingrained in the society, so it's a bit taboo in some places to be run around in public. So we don't have many public games as such. Most of our games are kind of behind closed doors or on a site that's kind of locked down. There's not a lot of There's a few park games go on, not too many to be fair.
Because I've heard that kind of can go both ways, where it's like if you have less of a firearm culture, people are less likely to assume that a toy could be something else. But also, on the other hand, some people like don't want to see any form of it because anyway. So that's interesting. What? So you got back into it this way, you got into it this way, and you're amassing things. And did you? How long have you been creating content? So okay, because that's the Monkeytron Collective thing is. Let me do this. Explain Monkeytron Collective.
Okay, so Monkeytron Collective started as a Facebook page. I started to catalog my toy collection. That's how it started. So
it predates your Nerf involvement.
Well, I was into Nerf at that point, but I collect a lot of action figures and things, and I did a lot of custom action figures and stuff as well. So I started the Facebook page to catalogue that. I was moving house at the time, and I just kept pulling boxes and boxes and boxes of toys out my loft. And I thought, I really should do something to catalogue all these. So I started the Facebook page for that. And then, as I was already into the Nerf by this point, but the Nerf slowly took over and just became the main focus of it. And I've always gone to Comic Cons and conventions, and during that house move, I decided I had to get rid of a lot of toys. So I thought I'll take them to a Comic Con and sell them rather than do it on eBay or do it online or car boot sales or whatever. So I thought I'll take it to a Comic Con. I've got some valuable stuff. I know I'll get good money for them. So I booked a table at a local Comic Con, and I decided to use the Monkeytron thing as a brand, and that's where I paid an artist friend to come up with logos and stuff, and I created this kind of brand around the name, and it kind of built from that. And I also had a load of old N-Strike blasters to get rid of because we'd been buying up the Elite blasters. So that's kind of how I got into painting blasters as well. So I thought these will sell more if I paint them up and make them look like props. And I kind of got into, within a couple of years, I was really just kind of doing Nerf stuff at the Comic Cons.
Where did the name come from?
So Monkeytron was a nickname I used to use for my eldest son when he was a baby. We had a lot of Transformer toys, and I liked monkeys, so I used to call him Monkeytron. And then
that's fun.
I was trying to do the page was about my toy collection, so I used collective instead of collection.
Yeah,
and that's how it came.
I love that. That's so fun. So Monkeytron is sort of your personal marker.
It's just my kind of online persona as such, and the family.
Yeah. So, and then you pivoted to YouTube with that as well. And so you're making content, or you're organizing events first?
Events would have been first, yeah. So I think I ran my first game in 2012, which was just kind of friends and family. We managed to get use of an old kind of office building that was abandoned, and we had some cool games.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, hold up. You can't move past that. That's really cool.
It was a floor. It was a floor in an office building.
Yeah, but what a great setting.
It was
that's really neat. Okay. And
then I discovered Foam Thunder, who are the kind of local events company in Scotland and the UK where I live, and kind of started going to their games as a player, and then kind of very friendly with the guy who runs it, who was running it at the time, and just joined in, helping out, refereeing and running games there. And then myself and Mel, we then became game organisers for Foam Dark Thunder. We're running our own events for Foam Dark Thunder, and kind of went from there. And then we were heavily involved in all the big scale Foam Dark Thunder events over the years, like the mole game with the zombies. We were the first to do all that, and we did the football stadiums and the underground and nuclear bunkers and all these big ticket events that we did. So
that's really cool.
Myself and Mel and the other guys at Foam Dark Thunder we did all that together. That was amazing. It was a busy time, but it was good fun.
Because I know we're gonna get to FoamFest, and I want to understand the relationship between like BRITNerf and FoamFest and all these things. I know that Mel you were describing as sort of the boss of FoamFest, and
yes.
So I'm kind of curious what she wasn't able to join us today, but I'm kind of curious what her path was to, like, does she have a background in event organizing? Was that the thing, or was that just her thing that she was excited to contribute?
Yeah, we were obviously involved in the Foam Dark Thunder games and events. Right. Obviously, our kids were younger at the time, and they were playing at these games every week, and we were helping run them. And yeah, we were travelling. We were travelling all over the country to go to events up and down. And Mel, she got involved with the Women of Nerf when that first kind of started up with Archer and everyone. So she was kind of one of the founding members of that as well. Was heavily involved in setting up the Discord for Women of Nerf at the beginning, and did a lot of that work. Yep, there we go.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'm holding up the Women of Nerf patch for our audio listeners.
And yeah, she just became... Cool. Mel's very passionate about kind of inclusion and inclusivity, and also just try to reach those kids that kind of sit on the periphery of of sports. So the kids who won't go and play football, who won't go and play sports, but will happily pick up a blaster and run about for 2 hours without thinking about it. She's very passionate about that and kind of really lent into that. And yeah, so FoamFest was something we talked about as a community here in the UK for quite a while. Obviously, we have the background in conventions. I've been doing the conventions since I think I first started trading in 2014, so over 10 years been doing the conventions. And it's something we talked about for ages, and then we did the big zombie in the shopping mall event here, and we ended up with Drac and Project FDL came over to the event.
Wow.
So it was good. We got to meet them and hang out with them. And
when was that?
2017. That was
2017. Okay.
Yeah. So we had Drac and Jesse and Jackie from FDL came over. We went out for some drinks one night, and I was chatting to Drac, and he'd clearly done his homework and he knew what we were about and what we were doing, and chatting away to them. And he said to me, "Listen, I'd love to have you at FoamCon. Love to get you over to FoamCon. Like if you can get there, I'll give you a table." So I thought, well, yeah, I have to make that happen. So
yeah, right, yeah.
So,
well, especially at the time,
yeah.
I mean, Drac's great. We've had him on the podcast. Like that was like peak time too.
It was,
for that sort of like era of Nerf tube.
I went over to Endor 2018, which was I think the biggest one that ever happened. I think. So we couldn't all afford to go, so it was myself and our eldest son that went over, and it kind of exhibited at FoamCon, and played in Endor, and it was a fantastic weekend. It was all a bit of a whirlwind. It was kind of I think 4-day weekend flying halfway across the world and back, and it was all a bit of a blur. But coming back from that, and like FoamCon was just such an amazing experience, and it just I came back and said to Mel and Neil, who was the head, who ran Foam Dark Thunder at the time, said, we need to do this in the UK. We need, and Neil at the time just said he was booking an event down in England at a football stadium, and he said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll book a function suite at the football stadium and we'll do it. So the first FoamFest was just ran as Monkeytron Collective and Foam Dark Thunder event.
Yeah.
A joint event between ourselves.
Okay.
And that's what kicked it off. We kind of put this event on, and everyone came from all over the country and all over Europe, and we were a bit kind of blown away by it all, and it just kind of took off from there.
Right. Well, and FoamFest has had a little bit of a complicated history because you started 2018 and then 2019
was the first
2019.
FoamFest, yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, the next year is 2020
yes.
and 2021, and it's like, like you're kicking off and you're having this thing, but you did something really interesting where you actually pivoted the event online and still offered a lot to an even wider audience potentially.
Yes, that was hard work. But
yeah,
we're really proud of what we did for that. It was amazing. So after 2019 FoamFest, Neil, who was running Foam Darts Under at the time, stepped down, and new owner took over, David, who I still work with to this day, doing Foam Darts Under. So when Neil stepped down, we were thinking, right, we need to book next year's FoamFest in, but he was stepping away from it, and he'd been one of the kind of main organisers with myself and Mel. So we took it to the BRITNerf kind of moderation team. So within the UK, BRITNerf's this kind of, it's an unofficial organisation. So it's mainly you heard of UK Nerf War, who has a big shop here in the UK. So it's run by Kevin, who is UK Nerf War on the UK forums. So he hosts the Discord server and the website and everything, and he's kind of Daddy BRITNerf type thing. And then there's obviously a moderation team under him who kind of moderate the Discord and the web and the web forum and everything. So we just decided FoamFest should be a BRITNerf event, and it shouldn't just be a Monkeytron event or a FDT event. It should be a BRITNerf event. We'll get everyone together. So we took it to them, and we brought them on board as kind of organisers. So it wasn't just me and Mel. There's now UK Nerf War, Boff, who runs BoffTac, kind of custom tactical gear. We also have kind of people who chip in as well. Tom from Data Services, who's not so active anymore, but used to be mega active. And we also have recently joined the team Ben from Foam on Tour, who's one of the kind of big game organisers down in England. So there is a team of us now that work on it.
So BRITNerf, unofficial organization, is it I don't know what the British equivalent of like a non-profit like we have in the US is.
It's not an official.
Is it something like that?
No, it's really just the Discord server and the web forum. But what we do is try and put an umbrella over the games in the UK to make sure they ran safely and within the laws that we have here in the UK regarding all that firearm stuff, because our firearm laws are very particular here in the UK regarding energy limits and what's acceptable to be seen in public. And so BRITNerf tries to, just by good practice, keep that all safe and make events inclusive and accessible, and make sure as many people, try and make sure people know about them so they can come to the events, and just kind of promote them. And it's quite good. It means a lot of the game organisers are running from the same rule sheet, so you can travel around the country and you know what to expect. And
that's so helpful. I know that in the US we have a lot of regional organizations that do similar stuff like that. There's a whole East Coast group that now shares a rule book, and that really helps a lot.
But within BRITNerf, there's a few clubs that do things slightly differently, but generally everything's the same and kind of kept.
You have a basis to work on. So if you want to do something slightly differently, you can still be like, we're like these other clubs, except we do this. Yeah. As opposed to just being like, we don't listen.
Yeah, they just might have slightly different rules regarding shield tags, for example, things like that. Or, Yeah. But the general safety rules and everything are generally kind of all the same.
Different gameplay preferences.
Yeah.
So okay. FoamFest, generally, major event. In the US, there's like a really specific format that a lot of the major events follow now, where there's an HVZ, there's a competitive tournament, and then there's like a day of casual play, and somewhere in there you have like tabling. Ragfest did panels, which, as far as I know, is the first time a US event has done panels. But like, you've been doing panels and talks for a while, right? What?
Yeah, we've done a few. I think the main one was, as you mentioned before, the FoamFest Live, the online events. So obviously they were just basically panels.
Yeah.
So that, obviously, we had this big event planned for 2020, and it makes me cry when I think about the event that never was. We had so many people from the States had confirmed they were coming over, because it was all flying high at the time, and we had so many big Nerf tubers and folks from the USA and Canada and Europe and everywhere had all said they were coming over, and then it all fell apart, unfortunately. So we were on such a high, thinking we were going to have this amazing event, and then it all collapsed. And then it was Boff, one of our organisers, Boff, had the idea of putting it online. So it was Boff and UK Norfolk did all the kind of behind the scenes nuts and bolts of getting the event online through Stream Deck and getting it onto Twitch and YouTube. And everything just fell into place perfectly, and everyone we contacted around the world was just up for helping out and joining in, and it was such an amazing event. And it was a non-stop 12-hour stream, and we did all these we did adverts and advert breaks and got people to send in adverts and things. And
that's so
really
cool.
Funny.
Well, so was it the experience of doing that led you to keep doing talks when you came back in person, or?
Yeah, well, we did a couple of talks at the original event in 2019, but it was just a case of we have this creator, go visit his table at 12 o'clock and he'll be doing a talk about this, and somebody else go visit his table at 1 o'clock and he'll be chatting about this. So we didn't have a particular sit-down panel thing. We did it more just kind of like that. And then also we had the 2 years of online events. And then we returned in 2022 to physical event, back to Bristol, where our 2020 event was supposed to be. And it was coming back after the pandemic. It was a bit more subdued, unfortunately, but it was a bit quieter. But we had a pretty successful day and weekend of games. So we also, the very first event in 2019, we got the local kind of where we'd booked the convention for. We got this local game organisers there. We kind of approached them and said, "Can you put games on this weekend? So we're going to do this thing on the Saturday. Does one of you want to do a game on Friday? And one of you do a game on the Sunday? We'll make a weekend of it." And it worked really well. So some guys, they played a game in a laser tag arena, usually so they put a game on the Friday night in the laser tag arena. And then we had, we had the convention on the Saturday, and then we had a F-Foam Dark Thunder game on the Saturday night that was at the same venue as the convention. And then on the Sunday, another local game organiser put on a kind of high FPS game on the Sunday. And it was, everyone loved it. And so people would go to the game Friday night, convention Saturday, game Saturday night, and then out on the Sunday again. And it was just this non-stop weekend of playing and meeting up. And that's kind of, we just tried to keep that as our format, really.
Sorry, I got lost for a second. So that's really fascinating, because the US is so locked into such a specific sort of like lockstep thing, which is not necessarily bad. I mean, there's exceptions. Survival Fest is largely HVZ, and they have different goals and they have different targets. US listeners might be curious to hear from you why HVZ seems to be less common. Why you think HVZ might be less common there? If you have thoughts on that, I don't know. Maybe
I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's just we're not so keen on the public games here. I think it might just be that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
There's a couple of HVZ clubs now in universities, but mainly in the south of England. But then there's the Royal Holloway University, which is the big one. They have the most active HVZ club, and they run the invitational event. So I absolutely, that's one of my highlights of the year. That I've been to all the HVZ events down there. I absolutely love it.
That's cool.
And so when FoamFest last year's FoamFest, we decided to take another thing about FoamFest is we try and move it around the country. So it's in a different area each year. So we went down to this is the kind of, it's in the London area, Royal Holloway University. And we decided to put it there because they have the big HVZ club and it's a big event, and we thought we'd give them a shot at kind of hosting the event.
That's fun.
And yeah, it was a good one as well. We had a game on the Friday at a kind of paintball airsoft type place, a high FPS game. Then we had the convention, and then at night time there was another game off site that was in an abandoned department store building and stuff.
Where do you find these locations? Because like
we do
every other game you tell me about is like, oh, we were in a whatever, like some like that's wild. That's so
I was
cool.
going to suggest actually, it's like it sounds like almost like you could do a Midnight Mall Madness, that same HVZ that they host in the mall. I'm like, it sounds like you guys have enough buildings and office spaces y'all could possibly do HVZs like that.
Yeah, I've thought about that. Don't worry.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So this changing the location all the time. 2025, June 26th. That weekend, right? And then where is it this year?
This is going to be Lancaster University this year, which is a bit further up north again.
Okay.
So yeah, we've moved about. The first event was fairly close to that, a place called Wigan, and then we had the 2 online events, and then we went down to Bristol, which is kind of southwest of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2023, we were supposed to go to Leeds, which is kind of north, but to the east. But that kind of fell through. We had a lot of stuff going on in the organising team, in our day-to-day lives, and we just couldn't find every venue we approached. It just fell through due to being too expensive or them not being interested. We have been knocked back from venues because they don't want the association with the Blasters. Which is so
perennial problem. I mean, I know that that problem exists in the US just as much. It's a challenge,
and it's just every venue we approached, they either fell through. They wanted a ridiculous price because post-pandemic they'd bumped their prices up to be crazy,
right?
Or they just weren't interested in the event, and it got to the point where we were running out of time, so we decided to call that. And what we did instead was I just ran a games weekend. We have a big kind of it's another amazing site. It's a disused World War II Air Force base, which has all these big.
What is this?
It has all these big ammunition bunkers, big concrete bunkers built into it everywhere, and all these amazing.
You just have an embarrassment of riches of cool.
Played quite regular games there, but we also the owner also lets us book it out for weekend events. So we just booked that for a weekend event, and I just ran a games weekend. We called it. I did it a Star Wars theme, so we called it Boba Fest.
That's a good one.
All the games were Star Wars themed, and we did a bit of one of the things FoamFest is famous for as well is the prize raffle, and it's the main point. One of the main points of FoamFest as well. We do a lot of the charity fundraising, and the prize raffles are our biggest generator for that. Our sponsors that come on board. Excuse me, I've been suffering with the cold the last couple of weeks. My throat's.
Oh my goodness, yeah. No, take your time. What do you when you're doing that? What charity are you supporting with it generally?
This year we're still waiting to confirm our charity. We have approached the charity, but we obviously go to them first and pitch it to them and say, are you comfortable with this? So we have approached the charity. We always go for a charity that focuses on youth and ideally youth mental health or. Youth.
It's great.
Just kind of helping disadvantaged youth. That's been our theme every year. I mean, we've raised well over £10,000 through our events in the last few years, which has been really good for such a kind of small community that we have here in the UK. It's been amazing. So we have the prize raffle. Yeah, so we did the games weekend, and we did a prize raffle. We did a small prize raffle and stuff, and kind of tried to keep it as FoamFest as possible, but it obviously didn't have the convention attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's great. We have a question from one of our Ko-Fi backers that ties into all this organizational stuff, so I want to pivot to that a little bit. which, but I have to do a little explanation. We have a Ko-Fi. You can donate to charities for children's mental health, or you can just give us money, I guess. I don't know what to say there. No. You are a Ko-Fi backer, so thank you, first of all, Al. Appreciate you doing that for so long. One of the benefits of being a Ko-Fi backer is you get to ask questions of our podcast guests, and Colin of Ghost Low Taco, who's also been a podcast guest, asked, what is your... ask both of you and Mel, so maybe you can answer, maybe you can suggest an answer for her too. What's your biggest strength individually to bring to the table as event organizers? And what's been your biggest pain point with organizing FoamFest?
I suppose my biggest strength is just my kind of convention background. So my main job on the day is just kind of being on the floor, looking after the traders, making sure everyone's okay, and just kind of floor managing on the day.
Yeah.
We also, Mel's she does a lot of the overall overseeing on the day and coordinating of the volunteers and everything, and she also drives a lot of the charity stuff and all the inclusion policies and stuff that she likes to put in place.
That's great.
And then we have BOF and UK North War. They do a lot of the back end logistics and very, very good at organising all that. And so yeah, as a team, we kind of come together quite well.
That's great. It's so, like, I think you have to step into the world of event organizing to understand how important all of the, like, non-Nerf related skills are in making these things fly.
Yeah.
And it's it's the communities come together strongest where you have that core of people who have those competencies and those skill sets and the desire to give back to the community. So it's amazing that all of you are able to come together and make that happen.
We're all slightly old enough as most of us on the team, so we ended up none of us are.
That's also a thing that I think you need. I think you need a few older people who kind of know what.
But then we had to bring someone younger on board who could nail all the social media. So that's how we brought Ben on board this last year. Ben from Foam on Tour, he does all the social media stuff. He's fantastic at it.
Well, we, as Mel knows, we thrive in diversity.
Yeah.
We need all of those things all together at once.
The biggest
beautiful.
pain point,
well,
you said.
Oh yeah, what is the biggest pain point?
Biggest pain point is you can't please everyone.
Very true.
Yeah.
Painfully true, yes.
It's horrible. It's a horrible thing when you've put everything into this event and done everything you can, and then people are just didn't like that, didn't like this, didn't like that.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, okay. We'll try harder.
Yeah.
But it's just you can't. We have to develop a bit of a thick skin around all that and carry on and stick to the plan and do the best you can.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that is really hard. Got a few YouTube comments to that effect lately. Feeling that way. It's that way sometimes. I mean, it's like you can only do what you can do. It's like, if you, I don't know what I'm saying. You make ultimately. I mean, I learned this in music, right? You ultimately make something for yourself, because if you don't make something that you know that you can love, can you expect someone else to? You can never get 100%.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. I mean, it seems like your community benefits so much from what you're doing, and I think that's really
I'd like
the
to
most
think
important
so,
thing. But but I know it's still hard to hear those things.
Yeah,
it's still hard to hear those things, especially when you're like at your most vulnerable point, right, where you're like exhausted from running the thing, still working, because like when an event like this ends, the work's not done. You've got another like week or two of cleanup and organizing and doing finishing the paperwork and like making sure all the bills are paid, and it's like that's when people are like, I didn't get enough whatever.
Yeah.
Which, like, valid to feel that way. Anyway, I feel that, I guess is all I'm saying. I get you.
Yeah.
But, this year, late June, if you are in the UK or feel like you can travel to the UK, we'll have all the links and stuff down below. But I hope
far,
to make it to the FoamFest at some point.
We've still got some things to announce that we're still working on. We have a game for the Friday, which is in an indoor airsoft arena, which is about 30 minutes away from where the convention is.
Okay.
It's called Nerf Town, I think, and that's been run by FoamFest, who are kind of one of the big game organisers, and Ben, who runs FoamFest, is also one of the FoamFest team as well. Yeah, he's absolutely killing it just now with his events. He does loads and loads of. He's the busiest man in BRITNerf just now. Smashing events every week. He does mall events and he does high FPS events, and he does these airsoft events as well. So the Friday game's going to run at 160 FPS, which is a kind of funny one. It's something that's come into the BRITNerf through the kind of pro blasters that are coming out of the box, hitting round about that. So we've had a few events recently that are kind of using the 160 FPS as a cap, because we used to be like the games we run at Foam Thunder, they're child friendly, family friendly, 100 FPS cap. We keep it very low, keep it very family friendly, so all the kids can join in. We have started doing a pro event for 14 plus and using the Dart Zone Pro blasters. We're very lucky to get a sponsorship deal with Dart Zone. They sent us a load of blasters and stuff to use, so we can hand these out as loaners and people can come along and use them.
That's cool. Dart Zone loves to do that stuff.
Yeah, they've been really good. They sponsored the last few FoamFest events. We're still waiting to speak to them this year, but they usually attend the event via Blaster Time because they have a European distribution deal with Blaster Time. So Cryan from Blaster Time, who is an absolute legend of a gentleman, he's been to every FoamFest, sponsored
also
every
a former
FoamFest.
podcast, also a former podcast guest, and a Ko-Fi supporter of the Foam News Collective.
Wasn't he the first Ko-Fi supporter too? I think he was.
Probably was, yeah.
He was. No, I guarantee. I'm pretty sure he was.
Pretty sure it was him and then Iron Gopher.
Yeah.
Cryan's he's a top bloke.
Great guy.
And but just he has some stuff going on. He might not make it physically to this year's event. He's still working on that. He may not, but he'll have a presence there anyway. He's already sponsored the event, even though he doesn't know if he's going to be there. He's an absolute legend. We also have Foam Thunder also sponsoring, which they do every year. They have a history of being one of the founding members of the event as well.
Right.
We've also got some exclusive news here. We've not announced this yet. We're also being sponsored by UK Nerf War. He's a BritNerf legend. He's sponsored every FoamFest event so far, and obviously he's on the organising team as well. And we're also being sponsored by Fancy Impact Blasters, they're a team here in the UK, and they sell predominantly 3D printed blasters, and they're the kind of go-to blaster supplier for 3D printed stuff in the UK here.
I was just seeing their name on something recently. That's exciting. That's really cool.
And they're also running a game for us on Sunday at FoamFest, which we have not announced yet either. I'm not sure. By the time this podcast goes live, we might have announced that. I'm not sure, but they have a little indoor CQB venue that they've been running a few games at recently, so they're going to be running that for us on the Sunday after FoamFest. So we've got the Friday game run by FoamFest. We're going to have the convention on the Saturday night. We are still working on, unfortunately, the venue we're looking at are dragging their heels slightly.
I mean, that's both the challenge and the gift of changing your location every single event, right? You get all these cool, unique opportunities to do different things every time, but also you have to meet like 20 new people who run different venues and convince all of them to work on your schedule.
So we do have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're just working on Saturday night, but that's to be confirmed as of this point.
Great.
Still.
But awesome.
Fib or Fancy Impact Blasters, they're going to be doing a Sunday game for us at their little airsoft venue, and then they're going to run that a mixed FPS cap. So they'll run a 130 FPS cap where we can have some younger players join in. It's really it's quite a tight CQB arena, but they ran a 200 FPS cap in there as well, which was interesting. I'm going to say, because it's really quite tight. So if you got the drop on someone at 200 FPS in this place, like there was no dodging that. It is
right.
It made for a really interesting game. But it was good fun.
That's a very Singapore style gameplay, like CQB but like high FPS.
So they're going to run a mix of that. They're going to run some 200 games and some 130 games, and so we can have some younger players come and join in, and then the ones who want it a bit spicier can have a few games as well.
I don't know what this venue looks like, but I think one of the things that we were talking about a lot at around Mayhem and Ragfest is trying to encourage spectatorship, like especially in competitive play and stuff. But it's like if you go to a long event, like it's nice to like really watch a game and see how other people play, and I think that gets de-emphasized a lot. And a lot of times it's like, especially like competitive tournaments, like there isn't really a good place for the audience to watch from, and there isn't like nobody's like speaking to the audience. And so I love the idea if there's a game like that where there's like, here's some like really high FPS games, but like we're really going to make sure that if you aren't comfortable playing in that game, you have a good vantage point to like watch from. Maybe there's someone even like explaining if it's a competitive game, at least like someone explaining what's happening. But I do really like there being like different, especially if you can kind of watch the things that you don't want to participate in. Yeah. Maybe learn something.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have a big competitive scene here in the UK.
Yeah, that's interesting too. I mean, I know in the US it's like a thing that people have really put years and years into trying to develop, and there's still so much farther to go. So like,
obviously, when I went to Endwar 2018, they were just dabbling in it, and there was some Iron Rush played out the back of the convention hall, but there wasn't a tournament as such. It was just kind of drop in, come and try games. And there's been a couple of games in the UK. Pardon me, where we've ran 5v5 tournaments, but nothing on the scale of Foam Pro Tour or anything like that. Just been fairly casual affairs. And last year was the first time we did it at FoamFest. So we had guys from Black Raisins actually came over and did stuff for us last year. So there's a team in Italy, a Black Raisins team in Italy. They're not Black Raisins, they're Speed Dart.
Yeah, Speed Dart's that gameplay style. Yeah,
so
right.
They have a club in Italy. They're associated with Black Raisins, and we have a guy here in the UK who is a fellow team member of mine. I play for Team Tropicana Thunder here in the UK. So one of our guys, he doesn't work for Black Raisins, but he's into the Speed Dart side stuff, and he had a table at FoamFest last year, kind of as Black Raisins, and he was selling BKs and Dianas, and he was incredibly popular.
That's such a like specific. That's such a like specific niche within the hobby, I think. And then, that's cool.
But then the Italian guys came over as well, which was bizarre because there was only one of them spoke a little bit of English. But my wife Mel, she's actually half Italian, so she's fluent in Italian. So she ended up being translator for the day for all the Italian guys. And
among her many other jobs that she already has to deal with, now she also has to be translator.
Yeah. So that was quite fun. It was a bit bizarre, but so anyway, they came in and they ran a speed dart tournament for us, but we just kept it casual. It was just kind of team in. But
to experience a new gameplay style,
there was no competition format. It was just 2 teams in, 2 teams out, 2 teams in, 2 teams out, and they just did that, and it was really good fun. It went down really well. So we're going to do it again this year. So we have a new game organisers popped up in the UK just this last year, right in the middle of the country, in Birmingham, which has been traditionally a bit of a black spot for kind of game organisers in the UK. Everyone's either been kind of up north or down south, and there's been nobody in the middle. So he's the first guy that's kind of appeared in the middle of the country, and he's been running a few games in different venues, kind of airsoft venues and things. So we've invited him along to maybe do some 5v5 at this year's tournament as well, at this year's convention. So
okay, that could be the seed that grows into a UK or even European competitive scene.
I'll be running some games as Foam.Thunder during the day, but they'll be kind of child-friendly games where if we get people in through the door, they can just come in and have a go.
And it's so important to have both. Yeah. It's so important to have both. I love that. One of my favorite things at Ragfest, they were doing the kid games are going on, the like kid friendly games are going on at the same time as the comp tournament, but they ended sooner. Yes. So there was a point later in the tournament where all those people came over and watched the end part of the competition. Yeah. And it was just cool to see that whole crowd come in, and they're all hyped from playing all day, and they're just like watching the like semifinals and the finals and like going nuts. It was cool.
It's good to say. It's one thing we try to do with FoamFest is it be a kind of snapshot of the whole hobby.
Right.
So ideally, you come into that hall, you'll be able to see a bit of everything. So there'll be people there who are the artists who have painted blasters and integrations, and then you'll have the engineers who have got, I've got this crazy new flywheel cage, and I've got this crazy new full auto that does 500 darts a second proton pack. And hopefully there's a good mix of everyone, and then we'll have some games that are family friendly. We'll then have some tournament games. The day before we'll have a slightly higher FPS game. The day after we'll have a mixed game. So ideally, people can come along, and there's something for everyone. Is our hope for the event, and it's a snapshot of the whole hobby.
And there are so many facets of the hobby to capture in a
so many
snapshot.
different,
So it's a lot, but it's cool to be able to go to one place and kind of experience all of them.
So many people from so many different angles coming at it.
I love that. I'm really enjoying learning a lot about the UK scene from you, and we're going to kind of pivot back to that in a minute, because there's some bigger things going on in the hobby that I want to get your perspective on from where you are coming from at it, as we sort of discuss some of those topics in a bit. But first, it is time for our hobby trivia game. You listen to this show.
I've been losing sleep over this.
I have, of course, forgotten to draw a name for the person that you will be playing for, to give them an opportunity to ask a question of our next podcast. Sarah of Team Magic Smoke and of UMBC HVZ at Maryland Mayhem. Random.org. I couldn't load random.org last time, and I had to use like the Google random number generator or something. So we'll see what happens here. Or you know what? Wait. Oh, I have a D20 here. I have a D20. No, I don't have a D20. What is this?
Oh, why?
How do I not have a D20?
I'm a little ashamed of you right now.
It's bizarre. You know what? I know where they are, and they're not within reach. It's okay. Here's what we're gonna do. Here, Al, think of a number between 1 and 14.
7.
Great. Okay, it's gonna be. Why haven't I just done it like this before? 5, 6, 7. Sniper 819 on Discord. You will have the opportunity, if Al is able to get 2 out of 3 trivia questions correct.
Don't hold your breath.
These are all multiple choice questions. You will have the opportunity to ask a question of Sarah. Reach out to me on Discord to ask a question anytime between now and then. It is on you to do so. I am not reaching out to people anymore about it. And we've actually had pretty good luck. The person this week did not get to me, but also they had less time, so it's understandable, because we did the last podcast episode late, and that's one of the downsides of that happening. But sometimes that's what happens. Okay. This time our game is called All the Als. We will be asking you questions about another big Al.
Ooh.
Al the Geek.
Oh, I actually met him recently.
I figured you probably have.
He was in the UK on holiday earlier this year.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. Well, how much did you ask him about about himself.
We went out for a few
Esoteric
beers,
detail.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see how much you learned with these trivia questions. Vile, you want to go first? Trade off again?
Sure, we can do that.
Why don't you go for it?
All right. First question. Al brought a set of skills with him to Nerf modding from a previous fabrication hobby. What was that hobby? Was it A, 700 scale warships, B, sci-fi horror cosplay, or C, woodworking?
Oh, right. I remember him talking about models in one of our conversations. So I'm leaning towards the warships. But the models I remember him talking about were planes, not warships. Woodworking, I'm not sure if it's woodwork. I know he's a painter by trade, I think. So, what was the second one, sorry?
It was B, sci-fi horror cosplay.
I don't remember him talking about that. I'm going to go warships.
BA 700 scale warships, you would be correct. We had also discussed this in episode 25 on this podcast as well, actually.
I know that he's done other model types, like you were saying, he's done airplanes and stuff, but he specifically mentioned 700 scale warships when he was on our podcast. So I put that in there. All right, you're one up. That's great. Here's your next question. Al co-hosts Get Off My Lawn on the World Foam Alliance YouTube channel with Captain Xavier. While the core of the show is call-ins, they often have special guests. Who was their first special guest? Was it A, Walcom S7, B, Dart Sweep, or C, American Foam?
Oh, my initial thought was Dart Sweep, just because he's the other World Foam Alliance kind of main host. That was when you said that, his name popped into my head. But American Foam could be him. I don't think it was Walcom. I don't think I've ever seen Walcom on anything else but his own channel, particularly. I'm going to go Dart Sweep.
I'm sorry, the answer is A, Walcom S7.
Oh, well.
Yeah, he was on episode like 3 or 4. All of those were early guests.
Right.
American Foam did come on. This was a bit before he shut his channel down. And Dart Sweep was on. All the other, like, Dart Sweep is on, and then Maritime Foam was on, and, like, all the other World Foam Alliance people came on. But Walcom came on first. They did the first, 2 or 3 episodes alone with just call-ins, and then they started having guests. But that's fine. You still have one more opportunity to get that third question. Go for it, Vile.
All right. As a member of Maritime Foam's competitive team, Mega Double XLs, Al the Geek has competed at the Maryland Foam Tournament 2 years in a row. At the 2023 tournament, what blaster did he throw on the ground after it jammed when he tried to tag Kale, a.k.a. King of Games of Team Smog? Was it A, Dart Zone Pro MK 1.2, B, Worker Harrier, or C, a custom modded long shot?
Oh. This was in 2020...
2023.
2023. So was that the year of the 2.1? Where it jammed for everyone? Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the 2.1.
Oh, the
the Dart Zone. Yeah, the 1.2. Yeah. You would be correct. It is A, the Dart Zone Pro MK 1.2. So, yes, that would be 2 out of 3.
Yay!
Yeah.
I can sleep tonight.
Yes, you're right. So that question was also like the other two. The answer was A for Al.
It was all the Als.
You listen to this podcast. You know what I'm about. Yes, great job. Sniper, feel free to reach out if you have a question for
I actually
Sarah.
have a photo of me wearing All the Geeks Mega XXL top.
Yes, I love that. I need one of those. I love that. That's wonderful.
He says I'm an honorary member.
I don't know. I'm apparently not big enough. I didn't get.
Yeah.
I didn't
I'm big enough. It's alright.
get let into. I'm not turtly enough for the Turtle Club, I guess. So, I want to talk about a couple other things before we wrap up here. Over the last few years, one of our themes at Foam News Collective has been focusing on international connections, trying to grow them, particularly links between U.S. and Europe and China and Singapore. And we've seen a lot of growth in those areas and the connection between the U.S. and Europe as well. But there's been some kind of setbacks in the last few months to that. And I'm curious on your perspective and just for us to have a discussion about some of these things. One of them is a growing series of a growing list of creators in our hobby being forced to leave Etsy, the site that I don't know how to describe. Okay, I have to give a little bit of my own personal background on Etsy first. When around the time my wife and I met and got together, we got married in 2009, and we met. We were together for like a couple years before that, and when we met, we were like Etsy's core audience. It was like right around when they were starting, and we both sold stuff on Etsy really early on, and they were very militant about everything being truly handmade or vintage on the site, and the the company, as it's gotten acquired by different companies, the ethos has changed, and there's so much like schlock on that site and resold stuff. Originally, like part of the way that it worked was it was like you either had to be fully handmade or vintage reseller, or then there was a thing where you could sell supplies, and that became this sort of like inroad for people to sell stuff that was like really sketchily tangential to what the idea of the site was. And this has been really frustrating to watch, partly because I've just been watching Etsy crumble for years. I used to refurbish and resell rotary phones. I would buy thrift and buy at estate sales rotary phones that were like not working or not in very good shape, and totally refurbish them and resell them to people. This was when you could use a rotary phone on the phone system. You can't anymore in most places. But yeah, it's been challenging to watch the site sort of fall apart generally. But specifically, I feel like the aspect of our hobby that is using the site is such a good fit. Very few of them are doing things that are like specifically firearm adjacent, and like I can understand an argument for Etsy not wanting like firearm replicas and like really deep cosplay stuff on the site. I can totally get that. But when so much of our when someone like Lidl Dynamics, he has like one blaster that is kind of firearmy, right? They're all elastic band things, and everything else just looks like a sci-fi toy. It doesn't, but he was like one of the people who specifically received, like had things kicked off of his, and it doesn't make sense to me. So this has been really frustrating to watch from my perspective. I know that the culture around it in general is different in the UK. I'm just curious what both of you think about what's going on.
Yeah, so I started an Etsy store during the pandemic. It wasn't something I'd done before. Obviously, I've Comic-Con trading. So I paint blasters on an industrial scale. Like, I've probably done thousands over 10 years I've been doing this. Like, I've got a couple of big spray paint booths in my workshop, and I can have 6 or 8 blasters on the go at once. And I churn out 20 blasters per Comic-Con. I'm doing 10 or 12 of a year, so like hundreds a year. So obviously when the pandemic hit, that was all the conventions stopped. So I pivoted to Etsy to start selling stuff, and yeah, I just know the fees just went up and up and up. and the postage to the United States, who was my key, was where most of my sales were going. To be fair, were going to the US, and postage costs from the UK to the US just went up, and that literally quadrupled in the space of the 2 years I was on there. And then I had a couple of blasters pulled off the site as well. I had a very vague Fortnite themed paint job which got pulled because it had a kind of image of a Fortnite llama or somebody doing a dance on it.
Right.
So I had a few things pulled off, and then the fees were going up, the postage was going up, so I ended up just calling it, and I've removed everything. I've not closed my account yet, but I've not got anything for sale on it just now. And I don't really know anyone else in the UK that sells blasters on Etsy, really.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, what have you ordered stuff from other Etsy sellers?
I've ordered
for the hobby
parts, mainly 3D parts, some files, things like that.
Yeah.
But nothing major. That.
I mean, what do we think? What do we think is the point of this for Etsy? Like, I don't know. I'm a little bit stumped as to like why they're booting things like.
I mean,
this off.
I look at this almost at the sort of over policing. It's easier to just sweep it all off the table instead of understanding the the nuances between things. Because I mean, it's no different than the YouTube AI moderator thing when somebody's doing a live stream, and like Al actually during one of their charity events showed the blaster for World Foam Alliance, and they just shut the whole stream down,
right?
Because it thought, or they just said it was he pulled a firearm on stream and it was a giveaway blaster for the charity, and I think it's an unfortunate. It's unfortunate to see because, again, it doesn't in a tag type hobby like this where we use things that can be even shaped like this. The frustration is that we start getting caught in the crosshairs of other things, whether it's political or whether it's legalities because of them having to worry about having lawsuits or whatever it might be. It gets frustrating because even I've heard of stories of people on YouTube getting their streams taken down because they pulled a hot glue gun, or a hot glue gun, or a screw, or like an electric drill or a screwdriver. Like they pull that on screen, and because it's roughly shaped with a handle and a grip and it's slightly round, the automation system just pulls it off automatically, and it's frustrating because. If you don't know much about real steel, you don't realize that there have been a lot of people trying to see what they could get away with, and especially with the 3D printing stuff. So that's where files start to get hit, like people like Lidl, who primarily only sell files, or somebody like Domochevsky, who only sells files. These people who sell these things get caught in the crosshair because they just would rather... It's not going to hurt them to take down 10, 15, 20 people with the potential chance of what could come into, if something actually did get sold on that site or whatever it is, because of somebody, again, trying out something they shouldn't be with real steel items and things that are illegal to technically be putting on because they labeled it something else to try to get around the moderation tools or get around, laws and rules and stuff. And I've seen a lot of them, unfortunately, from the real steel hobby or industry and individuals just try to see what they can get away with. And unfortunately, like I said, I think we're getting we're caught in that crossfire, which is a real shame, because it's a shame seeing creators like that get taken down for very fun blasters that are, I mean, again, they're just bungee cord. There's not even hardware. No. That's the only piece of hardware in the whole thing is the bungee cord. They'll get the whole thing's made of plastic. And like, I'm glad to see that we do have, at least for those creators who aren't doing full blasters, but at least creating files, that things like printables is now giving them a platform to sell on. So that is nice to see that there are options, because if they have a free file, they could put it there and it might bring you to their printables page, and then you say, hey, there is a purchasable file here of something bigger that I've put more time into. Would you like the files? Here's however many pounds or dollars or whatever it is, obviously. So it's nice that we sort of have that. But it is frustrating, and it can be a little bit of a volatile change for certain things, especially when the climate is kind of flip-flopping so hard. A lot of companies might just take it as a loss and just cut their losses with it. Unfortunately, that's at least how I'm seeing it.
How much of that video? Something I'm always fascinated by is how much of that video enforcement do we think is automated?
I feel that all of it is, to be honest. Because from what I've heard, everybody who has had them taking it down, Wallcom's had his streams taken down.
Yep.
Like I said, Al the Geek with World Foam Alliance,
right.
Getting that taken down. I've heard of people from the 3D printing community who were trying to make printed blasters on a stream get taken down, and it seems whenever they reach out to YouTube saying, "Hey, what's the deal?" they get sort of the canned automated response. And it's always pretty much just kind of stone-faced about how it's going to be. It doesn't really have a budge on its stance, which is very clear that it's automated. Because if they knew anything about the channel, right? Some of these channels, like say Wallcom's channel is a perfect example of that. Wallcom's been around for over a decade at this point,
right?
And all of his content has been based around this hobby and these toys,
right?
For forever. He's never gone into that real steel
no
stuff.
Context is being considered here.
No.
It's
None.
like there's just a procedural.
Yeah,
there's
it's
just a
just
procedural
blanket.
thing. A shape has vaguely been identified by a computer, and that's it.
There have been cases of actual 3D printed firearms though as well, hasn't there? So they're probably just
there's a lot. That's what I mean about the there's some unfortunate realities that there are people who are trying to see what they can get away with,
right?
And it's still, if you I follow a little bit of it. I don't go too heavy, but I do see it, and it sometimes gets suggested to me in algorithm stuff. But it's not as straightforward. They make it very much sort of a boogeyman type of thing with certain things, but there are a lot of channels, and when YouTube was a perfect example. They took out all monetization for any channel that was showcasing real steel firearms. They just completely demonetized all of them from that point on, and they drew a hard line in the sand, like no more. You cannot earn revenue of any kind on this platform. And even when that, right before that was happening, I was having suggested videos of like, how far has 3D printing come? And they'll show what they consider like a real steel firearm. That's all. Most of it's 3D printed, but what they're really doing is they're 3D printing the grip on it or something that's something that's not really like the real thing, because everything still internally is primarily steel and metal. You know, it's still requires a lot of work, or they had to buy an actual firearm and then plant the internals in it or something.
Well, which is kind of ironic, because like how much of our 3D printing is like, oh, I bought this Nerf thing or this X-Shot thing and I replaced the grip and whatever. Yeah,
exactly. That's pretty normal. And it's frustrating because, again, we just get caught in that crossfire. Because they're, especially with a lot of pro blasters. And then we have cultural differences too, because, like I said, in even the UK, it's not really the same culture there because it's not a normal thing. We see this from the Chinese market as well. They really love their replicas of these types of things. And while they're really cool, some of the engineering behind it's really awesome. For us in countries like, in the States, we do have to be very cautious of it. Orange tips, brighter colors if we can, if we even want them, or this is strictly going to be a behind the scene, like a closed door event type of thing at most, if you're going to really, because you're just not going to bring these out into public at all. And it's just you start getting this overlap of cultures, differences from whatever country or mentalities. And again, if it's a very hot topic, both culturally and politically, and again, like I said, lawsuits and things, these companies really just they would rather not even bother, and it just they just sever it completely. That's like I said, this is just from what I have kind of seen over the years being in this hobby. So,
well, speaking to those regional cultural differences, one of the other things that I want to talk about is this. There we go. This. So, Piggy shared with us new. I'm unclear. I still have to do my script writing, my research on this. I'm unclear if this is. I don't think that this is like new laws, but I think that it is like enforcement guidance that's being put out by Singapore Police Force, safeguarding something, I guess, every day. And this is really interesting because I haven't seen anything like this from any other country. They go into a lot of detail. They have this specific list here of import of toy guns which meet these specific requirements, closely resemble a real gun in make, model, and appearance, can easily be modified to look realistic, can shoot hard projectiles, are cap guns, or the speed of the projectile exceeds 200 FPS. 250 FPS.
250, sorry.
Yeah. And so they go into a specific list of examples. This isn't just like, these are the exact ones that are banned. It's like, here's this long, they like gathered all these pictures off the internet and off like Taobao or whatever of this is all gel blasters first, isn't it? Didn't I? Yeah,
no, that's well, that one, that's the Z. Yeah. The one on the bottom right is actually,
oh yeah, it's the S100.
S100.
What?
Yeah,
what is it doing in the gel blaster section?
Also, the XYL is that a gel? No, that is a gel.
That is their gel blaster. Yeah, yeah.
Because
that was the thing. XYL pivoted to Nerf.
But there's
this is the
lever action.
The 1894, isn't that that's that one that we covered a long time ago?
Yeah, it was a machined lever action one. That's also they're sort of mixing them, and I think it's mostly for representation of how it looks, because a lot of these look very.
I think it's just because they don't know. I think they don't know what they're talking about.
Well, like if you look, there's almost a distinct style between the first ones. They all are very sort of military-esque. They have the only one that's not is the lever action, obviously, but all the other ones. And then there's like the weird purple pistol gel blaster thing there as well. But yeah, it's I think it's just the list might also be split.
Some of these are obviously a P90, right? Like
that's
whatever,
a P90.
I get it.
The FMG 9, which is based off of a real firearm. The Scar, these are all based off of the one of those is an HK.
Yeah.
Actually, wait. If you scroll up a little bit, was that the? Oh no, it's not. I was going to say, was that the Gecko? But it wasn't.
Well. So here's the foam dart blaster section, and one of the first ones is the Zinc 2.0.
Yeah, right off the bat. Yeah, they went. The BK. I see this. The BK1.
BK1 and the BK1S. Perry noted that this is the out of darts photo of the BK1S.
Yeah, they pulled the out of. What I can't believe is this. When you scroll down further, they pull up the brand new worker one, or that sword or the blade that as a lever action. It's right above the BK1S.
It's this one. Yeah, the Mangzong. That's so funny. I know that it's not 250 FPS.
No, not even close.
And it's what does that look like? It's such a bizarre object.
Yeah, it's a gun blade thing. Like it's so weird. It was so random seeing that on the list. I was like, okay, yeah, I get like the BK1S. Sure, it looks firearm-esque, but then I saw that right above it. I'm like, but it's a lever action sword. Like, what is it? It's 3D printed. Like it is the most random thing to put on this list.
Can you imagine the UK? Can you imagine Scotland Yard coming up with a list like this?
Yeah, there's a Spaz 12 on that list. There's obviously a lot of Gecko, like knockoff variants are on this list, obviously.
This one is funny. The toy gun. So that's also one of the things I think is really funny.
Amazon.
Yeah, a lot of these are just Amazon listings.
Amazon, that one.
Yeah.
Toy gun with soft bullets. Toy gun foam blaster. What was the other one? There was another one. Nerf Mega Bolt Action Sniper. This one. What is this one? Why do I recognize it? It's
like a saber.
No, it's
that's not the
I'm trying to remember whose that is.
It's such a weird picture of it too.
Because it's a bolt action one, right? It was like it's sort of like how the Cynthia works.
Right.
It looks like that's the thing. It looks like a Cynthia. It looks like a Mega Cynthia, but I can't remember who made it. But it's such a random pick.
Yeah.
Rage brand model foam launcher. I want to look some of these up now.
I know.
But it's wild to see the zinc. I mean, I know that. Oh, it's the Frontline Foam zinc picture. It's got their logo.
Oh wow, yeah, they literally got it pulled it right from Frontline.
I just noticed that.
Crazy. Wow. Fire Rat is right next to it.
Yeah. So again, I understand. Okay, so I've been to games in the U.S. where people were like, "I don't think running a zinc at this event is appropriate," and people are like, "That's fine, I get it." Sometimes it depends on your community, your area, what your venue is comfortable with, what the people around your venue probably think about it, and it's so weird to me to see an entire country's police force get this into the weeds, or try to.
They're getting pictures from specifically U.S. sites, like Out of Darts, Frontline Foam, these are it's crazy to see this, because it's just and even again the weird lever action sword thing that is such a strange, that one I can't
hard
get
to
over.
Get over that.
I cannot get over that one, because that is such a oddly specific one to say nope, not that one. Right. We can't do that. It's so bizarre to me.
So let me see if this will do what I want it to do. It did not do what I want it to do. I have to... No, that's not what I want to do. Okay. This is the alternate list of approved ones.
The water blasters.
The Spyra! I know!
The Spyra. The weird little... Not a single thing here.
The water pistol.
Yeah, the little squirt guns.
The bunny rabbit backpack one, I think, might be my winner here. Oh, and here's incredible. The foam dart. Here's the foam dart ones.
Oh,
we got the X shot, the 4-shot, whatever that is. We got this random picture. I want to know where this picture of 2 strifes and a demolisher or a disruptor
came from. Yeah, big power electric there as well. That's funny.
You are allowed to have. Yeah, you are allowed to have exactly 5 of the new
Amazon listing.
Jolt.
That is an Amazon listing. They literally were cruising through Amazon because that is an Amazon exclusive pack, the 5-pack. That is funny to me. Wow.
It seems like they put a lot less effort into this list than they did the other one, right? I feel much less informed. I at least feel informed by the other list, sort of. Yeah. This one is kind of oh, good, I can use my eggplant Amazon blaster with the FVJs.
Yeah. What were some of the other ones that they had on this list? I saw that we had gel.
This is the whole dart list.
Here's
the gel list. We got the dinosaur. We got the clear ones. I don't know how I don't know how this gets a pass. This one with the a
lot of these gel blasters. Those exactly are HKs and stuff. What are you?
Yeah.
I'm shocked. And then the bubble guns too. Oh my god, that's funny.
So, yeah,
they want it to look very. What is this? Actually, right next to the gel line, I've seen this white and black one.
Yeah, it looks like the gel Spyra, basically. This one you're talking about?
It looks like that. It's kind of random. Where did they pull their list from? And then again, the weird one to the right of that, which is basically just a toy variant of an HK.
Yeah, it's just a shortened.
Yeah, but
Very strange.
I don't. Yeah.
Sorry to our audio listeners. By the way, I realize we're basically just like, what is this? I'll put links to these documents in the description. But watching. Okay, so the situation in the UK very different from the US. Can you see them doing something like this?
So
like, what does enforcement look like there?
The UK law. I'm not a lawyer. Do not take this.
Of course.
Yeah.
My understanding is the law is more around the colours, and it has to be a percentage. I'm not sure if it's 30, 40, 50% bright colours, and there is a list of approved colours that it should be, and it shouldn't be too real steel silhouette either. I think that's so. It's orange tip's not a law in the UK. It's overall bright colours. I think is my understanding, and yeah, we have so for the HVZ game that we have, which is the kind of the big invitational event. You have to have your blaster pre-approved by the committee, so you have to join their Discord server, and any blaster you want to use you have to submit pictures of it, and it has to be pre-approved by the committee before you're allowed to use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I mean, so one of the other things to clarify is these are import rules, not ownership rules, right? Like, is the UK that way too? Like, are they running around policing what people have on the street?
Yeah, I've not. We tend to get things will get stopped more just for custom charges. Like you'll get a note through your door saying, "Hey, you owe a custom payment. You have to go down to the post office and pay the extra fee to pick your parcel up."
Right.
But not too many get stopped for being gun shaped. I don't think we have problems. Like I think Germany is particularly bad for sending blasters to, and certain places in Europe. I've never had anything returned sending it to the States, but I always on the customs form I would always put in capital letters "child's toy," and then where I've sealed the box, on the top of the box, I would always put loads of foam darts. So if they did open the box, the first thing they see is the darts.
That's interesting. I always think about, like, a lot of people love to throw a bunch of random darts in as packing, but like thinking about that as a customs
I've always done that. So if they did open the box, the first thing they would see is the foam darts, and they would automatically think, "Oh yeah, toy." And I always put in big letters on the customs form, "child's toy."
Right. You could always just paint a big bunny rabbit on it too, I guess.
Yeah.
But in terms of getting stuff into the UK, I've never had anything knocked back, or I can't remember of anyone saying they've had stuff stopped other than to pay extra customs charges. Yeah.
Interesting. One last thing that we can talk about briefly, and I don't want to talk about this for a long time because I'm sick of thinking about it, partly because I live in the U.S.
Yeah.
We're also starting to see direct, measurable impacts of the Trump administration's tariffs. Companies are starting to say that they cannot import certain things, and there are certain companies that it is already impossible to order stuff from without paying massive fees on top of. And I am wondering, are you seeing any impacts of that where you're at yet? Are other sellers marketing more towards towards Europe?
I think we tend to get X-shot stuff before the States do.
Yeah.
And there was always the odd Nerf product we would get before the States. Not sure why, but like you also talked about. One of the reasons I started my YouTube channel was I was literally the first person in the world to find a Falcon Fire, the AccuStrike Falcon Fire. I was in a local toy store one day and I could see the guy unpacking stuff at the back of the shop, and
that's funny.
And I thought that's those new AccuStrike darts that everyone's talking about. And I went up and they gave me a packet of the darts and the Falcon Fire, and I immediately ran home, filmed a little video. and literally started my YouTube channel to post that video, and it had thousands of hits, and it was on Reddit and everything, and I was and so we'd randomly get the odd Nerf blaster, but we tend to get the X-Shot stuff quite early, but then we don't get Dart Zone stuff. It has to be imported specifically,
right.
It's
well, yeah, Dart Zone is one of the things that I mean, all of these companies really, but like Dart Zone and Buzzbee in particular, we talked about this last episode. They're in multinational companies.
Yeah.
Like they have a wing in China that manages manufacturing, and they have a wing here that manages distribution and design, sort of. Yeah. That's kind of how it works. I'm not a business guy that way, but that's my understanding, right?
Yeah.
And they share responsibilities, whatever, but how do they continue to operate? I mean, so much of international trade is actually just companies sending things back and forth to themselves, but like, so when Out of Darts is getting on our Discord and saying, yeah, we can't order these parts now.
Yeah. We do get some Adventure Force branded stuff through a store here in the UK, but it's not it's not the darts. It tends to be the more Buzzbee, X-Shot branded Adventure Force stuff.
What store is that?
Asda, they're called. They used to be owned by Walmart, but they're not anymore. Okay.
Do they still have like some kind of relationship? I guess
they must do. They do. They stock Adventure Force branded
Interesting.
toys.
I haven't heard of that before.
We have. We also have another law here in the UK to do with muzzle velocity. So anything that is over 1 joule muzzle velocity is considered a barreled air weapon. So anything that produces its projectile via air, so Springers, HPA, AEBs, which is going to be a tricky one in the coming weeks. They have to be under 1 joule to be classed as a toy. So a lot of the Dart Zone Pro stuff can't legally be sold. It's a very grey area. Obviously, flywheels are not air powered, so they're a grey area as well.
And that's where we saw that. That's where we saw that version of the X-Shot long shot, and I believe we're also seeing the Fury.
Fury, yeah. So we got
the Fury X with the lower power version.
We got low powered versions of them here in the UK, but you could order the full powered ones on Amazon, and then full powered ones were randomly turning up in shops anyway because they clearly didn't have a clue what they were buying.
Right.
That's funny.
That's funny.
So
that's funny.
I've heard a rumour that we might not get the AEB because of this, and any future X-Shot stuff is going to be kind of grey triggered for us. Because there was a bit of a... Yeah, they obviously got some heat for the X-Shot Pro stuff that was kind of borderline. So they were borderline 1 joule and kind of... I think they just skirted under, depending, because they were using quite light darts and stuff. So it's all very... and we don't want to be. Nobody wants to be that test case that pushes it too far.
No, nah, especially not if you're running events and you're doing all this stuff.
That's one of the good things about BRITNerf as well is we try and keep that. So we have a cap of anything that's vaguely public. We try and cap it at maximum 1 joule. We try and say 130, which gives us a bit of leeway.
Oh yeah, that's reasonable.
So a lot of games are capped at 130 FPS. In the UK, and if you're going over that, it has to be on private land. It has to be a closed site.
Before we move on to a little round robin question and then close this out, I heard you say gray trigger. Is that, do people just use that term that way, like as an adjective there to talk about the like lower power versions of blasters?
I just use it as that because it refers to the old gray triggers. Yeah,
I like using it that way because I know what you're referring to, but I haven't heard it used like colloquially, like to say like, oh yeah, like they gray triggered that, or like there's
like nerfing it. The old terminology.
It's nerfing it for nerf people, right? It's like a recursive. Recursive language reference. That's cool. Okay, I want to really quickly just round robin question this because I've been thinking a lot about how I don't think I've watched a Nerf review in so long. And I was skimming your channel and remembering some of the stuff that you've worked on, and like you've done a lot of reviews lately. Like a lot of your content has been I know you've been making a little less videos lately, but like doing reviews and then like event footage, right? And Vile and I have both done reviews. We've both done the review grind. Grims has as well. He's not here today, but like he's done that thing. And here's what I want to hear from both of you first. Do you watch reviews anymore? And if so, why and what are you looking for?
I watched about 4 today of the actual AAB.
Okay. Right. Well, okay. Yeah. That's kind of a special case, right? Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched those yet, but I'm not doing the segment on that, and I'm tired. Yeah, so, like,
that'd be me.
So, like, I know Vile has, and I'm relying on Vile to do that right now. But generally speaking, are you
if it's a blaster that piques my interest and it's something I'd think I'd like to have a play with that, I'd like to own that, I'd maybe that would fit a gap in my collection, or I could use that at this game, I could use that at that game. If it piques my interest, I'll have a look at it and see. I mean, there's some reviewers I trust, and obviously I've met quite a few of these guys as well and stuff, so I'll trust a few of them and their opinions, and it's the same with me doing reviews. If it's just a blaster that's piqued my interest and I've bought it for myself to have a look. I have slowed down on the video content the last couple of years. I just got burnt out from doing it, and so I now just do the videos that pique my interest. And so if it's a blaster that I've picked up and I've really liked it or enjoyed it or not, or I thought I'll get that and it's been disappointing, then I'll maybe make a video on it and ramble my thoughts for 10-15 minutes.
Yeah. Val, what about you? Are you watching reviews at all?
I don't really watch. I wasn't huge on reviews even before. Usually it was mostly me trying to learn about a blaster, like early on. And as time went on, it's funny, I started watching them more, mostly in the case of if we start seeing people get test units or like those sample review units and stuff. Yeah. For us, what we do here, that's like what is almost forced my hand into it. And yes, I did watch the AEB review videos because, hey, some of the people actually cracked it open, and that's what I'm always interested in.
Right.
If you're willing to crack it open and you're one of the first to do so, yeah, you better believe I'm gonna probably watch your video because I'm always fascinated with how everything inside is looking. What are they? How's the hardware? How's, like, especially with the AEB? How's that gearbox? Oh, they use a lot of metal parts. Oh, this is fascinating. Ooh, it's got quick swap. Yeah, of course I'm going to watch it. Right. But it is kind of a rarity because we've probably already seen it. Usually we're getting the leaks. We see the leaks. Stuff's being brought. We get images pretty quickly.
Our place in the news cycle, in the content creation cycle, is very specific. Making a news show. By the time the reviews are coming out, we're not covering that anymore.
Yeah, we've already moved on.
It is in their space. It is in the review maker's space. They can have fun with it.
Yep.
Our thing was, this thing is out. This thing exists.
Or it's being
coming
announced. Out. Or we found this. Somebody found a leak.
Be aware
or whatever.
of it. Yeah. By the time it comes out, it's kind of like, all right.
Next.
Other people who have it in hand can do the coverage. We're already talking about the next thing.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's a little weird, actually, because, like, that's not my mentality about life in general. But also I know that it's important for, like, people to have this kind of communication and information. I mean, my next thing was, which Al, you already kind of answered, is if you're going to make a review, what makes you feel like it's worth doing? And I know, and Vile, you're not. We aren't making reviews anymore.
No. I realized I wanted to go down the path of I mod. I want to. If I'm going to do a video, I want to do a mod video. I don't want to do the review stuff. That's just not. That doesn't pique my interests.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's worth pointing out and reminding people that, like, not everybody is who we are. Which is, like, all three of us are really deep in this and already involved in our own worlds of, like, things that we consistently create to the degree that it's, like, almost a second job if we got paid for it.
Yeah.
And, like, that changes the perspective that you have on stuff. It's not like I don't want kid like a if you're a teenager listening to this, I don't want you to be like, oh, the cool kids don't watch reviews. No. If you enjoy watching reviews, you should watch them. Like, if you enjoy them, or you're shopping for something, or you're learning or enjoying something, if you just like sitting and watching a bazillion reviews back to back, enjoy. Great. Sick. Awesome. I'm curious about like people in our space, like how much of our actual like content consumption is that, and I mean, it seems like we're in kind of the same space. It's like if I'm curious about something and I can really go out and find that information there, cool.
Yeah.
But
I think
like,
the last load of reviews I watched was probably the N series stuff, just to see what that was all about. And,
right.
yeah.
And that was really interesting news. Like we were like, what is this? Like
Yeah.
literally what is going on here? What is this bizarre new thing? And now I have a bunch of them downstairs, and I have a Sprinter in the box. I put it in the background in the box to be silly like 5 or 6 episodes ago. I still have not opened it. It's still in the box. I'm hoping to garage sale a bunch of my Nerf soon. Maybe then I'll open it.
Yeah. I've still not bought an N series blaster, but we've had to buy the darts because obviously kids are turning up with them to the events. So we've had to start stocking up on the darts. Yeah.
I will say, since we've been running the news, I have realized I have consumed less media. Because of what we do. We are consuming so much between researching stories, watching videos, listening to this, like doing whatever. I've realized that my consumption of video watching and stuff has just plummeted to the floor. Yeah. I just don't even bother half the time anymore because we just, we get sort of inundated with so much that throughout both on the off weeks and on weeks when we're writing our stories, it's like, you know what? I think I'll just take a break from consuming anything at this point.
Finally, really fast, who's your favorite review creator?
But
I mean, I have one. I can start. I can go first if nobody's sure. Captain Xavier for me. Shalo, like his balance of being very real about things and also still being like his firing footage is really entertaining because he's just a funny guy.
Yeah.
But he has a very technical mind for stuff. So like, and he's generally less like he's not concerned about growing his audience. So he's just very straightforward and real while also just naturally being funny and entertaining. And so like if he gets his hands on something, he's often the person I'll go to first if I'm trying to find information because I just enjoy his the most.
I think I definitely
and he doesn't worry about his production value, which I actually really enjoy. I would actually compare his production style to Adam Savage, who I've talked about a couple times on this show. Adam Savage has this whole thing about only using the microphone in the phone and like really not like being more worried about being directly connected to the audience, and Shalo's videos feel like that for me.
Yeah, definitely go to his videos for if you want to know more technical information on it and its modulability and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd have to agree, actually. What I like about it is because he doesn't take himself serious.
Yeah,
that's the real thing to me. He's just, here it is. Here's the information. That's it. And then he doesn't take himself seriously.
He's just train.
Trade, and then he just moves on to doing whatever else he needs to do. Yeah. But I can appreciate that so much more because I personally am just there for the information a lot of times, and like you said, he's just sort of charismatic in his own way, so that does lighten the mood a little bit more, and you just move on, and it's I really like that. I like people not sort of dilly-dallying around or trying to just word vomit out about something to hit a time limit or whatever. It's very direct, and it's just information and it's over. and again, kind of silly here and there.
All right, you got anyone else you want to name, or are we just starting the Captain Xavier fan club here?
I like
Halo fan club
as well.
You like who? Sorry,
Bert and Brett.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, he's we're a great friend of the show. Obviously, he's so fun. But also, again, knowledgeable
Yeah.
and like comes to reviews with experience on the thing. You know, he's one of these creators like Luke does this too. He does less reviews now, obviously, because he's so busy with this drop, but is always like, I don't want to review something until I've taken it to games.
Yeah.
Which I really, really appreciate. And I know that doesn't help view counts, right? Like you have to wait so long after you get a thing before you can review it. Whereas someone responding immediately to it can just kind of turn the video around immediately. But so I respect that a lot. Okay, well, with that, we all have tired voices and tired bodies, and I really appreciate you coming on, Al. Really, really great to talk. It's also, I'm sorry, it's almost midnight there. I was like, we don't want to go too long, and now it's been like an hour and 45 minutes.
I'm off work this week, so I'm not too bad.
Fair enough. Okay, well, that's good. I don't feel too bad then. I have to go. We have to go make the show, though. So thank you so much for coming on, Al. Really, really great to have you here. Really hoping for the best for this year's event and all the other things that you do. Where can folks find you online? I mean, we've talked about most of those things, right? Is there any...
So you'll find
want to plug all that stuff?
Facebook, Instagram, on the BRITNerf Discord. If you search FoamFest UK's Nerf Convention, you'll find us Facebook and Instagram. Great. If you join the Mighty Warriors of BRITNerf Discord server, there'll be a link to that on the BRITNerf website somewhere.
Cool.
You can join in there, and there's a channel dedicated to FoamFest. And lots of other channels around the UK community. And obviously FoamFest, we are still got some room for some more sponsors. If anybody out there would like to get on board and help sponsor FoamFest and help put the event together, obviously we use our sponsorship money to kind of basically fund the hire of the event hall and all that stuff and all the logistics and everything. And that helps us keep the entry prices as low as possible, so we can get away with charging just a couple of pounds for people to come through the door. And
that's so cool.
Helps keep everything else as low as possible. And then also we also have the amazing prize raffle every year. If anyone wants to donate anything to our prize raffle, any donations are welcome. If you've got something cool and desirable you want to donate to the raffle, we'd always find room for that as well. And we're just always looking for people to come along. Lancaster in the north of England is quite close to Manchester Airport, which is a massive international airport in the UK, so it's easy to get to. And you can,
that makes it a good year to travel if you're wanting to hit the UK for some.
I know we do have definitely got some folks from the States coming over who've dropped by and said they're coming over, which is good. And we'll have people from Europe as well, and we might get a few guys from Asia again this year. We'll see.
Looking at my calendar. I don't think that I can. Boo. Well, some year. Hopefully some year. I would really love to.
Yeah, and if you stay tuned to the socials as well, we've still got some announcements to come about games and things. Cool. So stay tuned for that.
Wonderful. Well, we'll have links to all of that down in the description. I recommend y'all check it out. Even if you don't feel like you can go, I always think that it's great to look at what events around the world are doing and use that to inspire your own work and your own community building. And with that, Vile will be streaming on the... Well, no, you're not, because you're getting ready to leave. You're not streaming this weekend.
I will be flying across the pond, actually, the UK. Unfortunately, not for FoamFest. A little too early for that. But
go to twitch.tv/Vile_mods and hit follow, and then go away because he's not there this weekend.
I'm not there for a couple of weeks.
I'm still writing daily songs the rest of this month. I have to do one before I start doing everything else. So check out my YouTube, Kinetic Turtle. And with that, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You have followed my be more like Bill instructions. I appreciate that for checking out the songs. I hope that you've been enjoying them.
That was good, yeah.
Some of them are kind of weird, but anyway, thank you again. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Ko-Fi backers. Thank you, everybody, for supporting what we do here, and we will see y'all in 2 weeks. Have a good night.
Thanks for having me.